November 2024. That's when the rules of the game changed in the Russia-Ukraine war, leading US President-elect Donald Trump to say this:
"We have never been closer to World War III than we are today. A global conflict between nuclear-armed powers would mean death and destruction on a scale unmatched in human history. It would be nuclear Armageddon. I am announcing today."
So why is Donald Trump warning that the world could be staring at World War III? Is that going to happen for real? Hello and welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm Munmun Bhattacharya. Let's connect the dots of whether the world is closer to the nightmare called World War III. An unnerving sequence of events has been playing out. Joe Biden, the outgoing president of the United States of America, authorized Ukraine to use American long-range missiles on targets deep inside Russia. For Kremlin, it meant the adversary had crossed a red line it had laid down. Ukraine fired US-made ATACMS missiles at Russian forces' positions in the Kursk region. It did so twice in 3 days. Ukraine also fired UK-made Storm Shadow missiles, which are comparable to the ATACMS. So how did Moscow retaliate? Well, Moscow fired its new Orishnik experimental hypersonic missile into the Ukrainian city of Dnipro. It was the first time Moscow used such a missile in the war. This missile is capable of carrying nuclear payloads. President Putin said it cannot be intercepted.
There are no means of counteracting such a missile, means of intercepting it in the world today. They don't exist. And I will emphasize once again, we will continue testing the latest system.
Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, who has been on the Security Council of Russia since 2020, warns that the new missile could cause unacceptable damage to main European cities in the space of just a few minutes.
We have never been.
Let's go back now to Trump's warning about a third world war. Trump is not alone in thinking that the Russia-Ukraine war could spiral out of control. Poland and Hungary are on edge too.
The war in the East is entering a decisive phase. We all know this. We feel that the unknown is approaching. The events of the last few days show that this threat is really serious and real when it comes to global conflict.
I believe that in the next 2 months, we Europeans should not base our approach on the rules of Western European style communication policies, but rather on a wartime logic. We must proceed carefully, weighing every sentence and word according to the principles of common sense. Otherwise, we will see what happens.
The Orishnik missile strike by Russia came 2 days after President Putin signed a revised nuclear doctrine that formally lowers the threshold for use of nuclear weapons by Russia. That's because the doctrine permits a potential nuclear response even to a conventional attack on Russia by any nation that is supported by a nuclear power, even if not a nuclear power itself. So what could it mean? A nuclear response to a large-scale conventional aggression against the Russian Federation was there in the previous doctrine too. So here's what has changed. Well, in the old doctrine, the option could be exercised after a large-scale conventional aggression that put the very survival of the state in peril. In the new one, a critical threat to the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Russian Federation or its ally Belarus could trigger it. So it gives more interpretative room for President Putin as to what constitutes this situation, where there is a critical threat to Russia's or Belarus's sovereignty and territorial integrity. One more condition that was added for the use of nuclear weapons is a massive combined airspace attack by all sorts of projectiles and aircraft, both strategic and tactical aircraft, drones, cruise missiles, and so on. So that part is new. But the doctrine elaborates that these will be situations of extreme emergencies and not every conventional attack would require a nuclear response. Analysts say nuclear threats are meant to prevent a nuclear strike. So nuclear deterrence is their more credible purpose. Putin could also be looking to use this change in nuclear doctrine to fortify Russia's bargaining position in any talks aimed at a ceasefire with Ukraine. But it is a lowering of the nuclear threshold by Russia anyway, a clear signaling that Putin is willing to risk a nuclear escalation in extreme circumstances. There are also reports that Russia is planning to deploy medium and short-range missiles in the Indo-Pacific region as a retaliatory measure against the United States and for possible strikes on NATO bases in Europe. There are other signs that show that the conflict is expanding with more players joining the fray. North Korea has joined Russia in the war, and South Korea is considering sending arms to Ukraine. Russia is reportedly using Iranian drones and other advanced weaponry against Ukraine. Reports have also emerged that Russia has been recruiting Houthi rebels from Yemen to fight Ukraine. Poland has deployed Israel's Iron Dome air defense system on its eastern border in view of the Russian threat. It has also started digging anti-tank trenches. Germany, which reduced defense spending after the Cold War, has also increased its military budget by leaps and bounds after 2014. To counter the Russian threat, Germany has also spent on US-supplied F-35A fighters, ammunition and missiles. Western officials are raising alarm too. Rob Boyer, a top NATO official, has warned Western businesses to prepare for a wartime scenario. Valery Zaluzny, former military commander-in-chief of Ukraine, who is now serving as Ukraine's envoy to the United Kingdom, believes World War III is underway in view of the direct involvement of Russian allies in the conflict. The fear of an imminent escalation in war that could first impact NATO countries in Russia's proximity has made Sweden, Finland and Denmark issue emergency guidelines asking citizens to stock up on food and water. So how is Team Trump seeing such escalatory moves? There is angst in Donald Trump's circle about Biden's approval to Ukraine to use long-range weapons against Russia. It feels Biden's call has dangerously escalated the war. Many are even asking if this was a coup against the incoming president. Donald Trump Jr., the president-elect's son, hinted that Biden's approval was an attempt to cure the pitch before his father takes over in January. While the truce in another war zone in West Asia is welcome news, the signs are worrying in the Russia-Ukraine war zone. The world is on edge, and there are at least days before Trump's inauguration. Even though Donald Trump has assured the world about his intentions to end wars, the question is, will there be a slip between the cup and the lip? Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, has been under siege. Tens of thousands of protesters marched to the city. These protesters were the supporters of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan's party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. They gathered from across the country, with many from PTI's stronghold in the northern province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Authorities used shipping containers to block major roads and streets in Islamabad. The city was fortified with over 20,000 police personnel deployed on the streets. It was a lockdown situation in the national capital. Mobile and internet services were suspended in many areas. Police fired tear gas and rubber bullets as the protesters broke through the barricades. Several people were killed. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said 4 security personnel died after being run over by a vehicle. PTI supporters planned to stage a sit-in at D Chowk, a public square in central Islamabad. The protest was led by Imran Khan's wife, Bushra Bibi. So what did these protesters want? They demanded the release of Imran Khan from jail. They also seek the resignation of the current Shehbaz Sharif government, which came to power this February.
We will do whatever Khan tells us. He asked us to come here, and here we all are in the convoys. If he asks us to lay down our lives, we will do that. We are here. That is our country, not anyone else's. They attacked us. They are firing at us.
We are here to get Imran Khan released and for our rights. We will have him released and then leave from here.
The protesters breached barricades and entered the high security red zone. This is where key government buildings, Pakistan's parliament and embassies are located. The army was deployed to protect diplomatic missions in the fortified red zone. The army issued a shoot-at-sight order. Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi said security forces showed extreme restraint in confronting the protesters. Listen to what he had said.
It's easy for us to respond to a bullet with a bullet. Rangers will open fire and there will be no protesters there after 5 minutes. But we are saying restraint. Restraint as their lives could be lost. They are our people, Pakistani people. But there is a red line when you have to make a decision because we have to protect our own people, the security personnel too.
Now, after the crackdown by the authorities, PTI called off the protest. Top leaders of Imran Khan's party, including Bushra Bibi and Ali Amin Gandapur, who were leading the protest, escaped from the area.
The financial and lives lost caused in the past 2 days is the sole responsibility of one lady, whom I have already named. This lady is solely responsible for all the anarchy.
Imran Khan, the charismatic figure in Pakistan's cricket, served as the Prime Minister of the country for a little over 3 years between 2018 and 2022. He was ousted by no confidence vote after a falling out with the country's powerful military. Khan has been in jail since August last year. He faces over 150 criminal cases ranging from corruption to instigation of riots. His party PTI claims these charges are politically motivated. The elections were held in February this year, but Khan was barred from running. Despite this, his party won the most seats, but a coalition of parties with close ties to the military kept them out of power. The protesters in Islamabad demand a redo of the allegedly rigged election. The government, led by Shehbaz Sharif, is facing criticism for its heavy-handed response to the protests. And now, the political turmoil in Pakistan has spilled over into the world of cricket. Sri Lanka's A team is returning home midway from their ongoing series against Pakistan Shaheens due to intense political protests in Islamabad. The situation in Pakistan is a perfect storm of politics, protests, and power struggles. One thing is certain, the country's future hangs in the balance. The man you see on your screen is Irish professional boxer Conor McGregor. McGregor is one of the biggest stars in the history of the UFC, or the Ultimate Fighting Championship mixed martial arts circuit. And not just his fighting skills, McGregor's signature walking style while entering the bout is equally famous. He was once one of the highest earning athletes on the planet. But McGregor is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. The Irish MMA fighter is accused of raping a woman in a Dublin hotel in December 2018. The plaintiff, Nikita Hand, a hairdresser, alleged that McGregor brutally raped and battered her almost 6 years back. The court found the 36-year-old sportsman liable for sexual assault. McGregor was ordered to pay Hand around $259,000 in damages. Listen to what Hand said after the verdict.
Over here. Just in front of the mic, Nikita, and just take your own time, okay?
And just look this way, Nikita. Mr. Microphone. Yeah.
Take your time.
Lastly, I want to thank my daughter, Freya, who I'm most grateful for. She has given me so much strength and courage over the last 6 years throughout this nightmare to keep on pushing forward for justice. I want to show Freya and every other girl and boy that you can stand up for yourself if something happens to you, no matter who the person is, and justice will be served. To all the victims of sexual assault, I hope my story is a reminder that no matter how afraid you might be, speak up, you have a voice, and keep on fighting for justice.
Hand told the court that she and a friend met McGregor after a work Christmas party.
Connor, you have an anger problem! Connor, you're letting down your fan!
Were driven to a penthouse room of a South Dublin hotel where drugs and alcohol were consumed. And that was where McGregor allegedly raped her. The next day, Hand was taken to hospital where a nurse said she had never seen someone so bruised. McGregor denied the allegation and said that the intimate moments were consensual. He also denied causing injuries to Hand. The Irish boxer took to social media platform X. He said he's going to appeal the decision. McGregor has also confessed to infidelity after being in a long-term relationship with his fiancée, Dee Devlin, who is also the mother to his 4 children. A protest march was held in Dublin in support of Nikita Hand after she won the rape case against Conor McGregor. Several hundred people joined the march. While McGregor lost his sexual assault civil case, he won't go to jail. So why is that the case? That is because the trial was a civil case and not a criminal one. However, other troubles may lie ahead. Many say McGregor may lose major sponsorship deals. Justice has been served, but for Conor McGregor, the real fight is only just beginning. That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you next week with more raging issues. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Munmun Bhattacharya signing off. Take care and stay safe.